It signed me out of Google.
Oh,
right when I
geez.
went to refresh the live page, I can't tell if we're live. Thank you for that, YouTube.
I don't see it.
And welcome to the WAN
Okay.
Show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fantastic show for you guys today. I'm going to tell you all about it once
Yeah.
my Google Docs signs back in. There it is. NVIDIA's botched launch. Ampere. We've got 3080 shipping without boxes. We've got crashing games. We've got a Titan class disappointment in the form of the 3090. This was written by one of the writers. Put this headline. This intentionally sensationalist headline. We're going to talk about some of the challenges that NVIDIA has gone through launching their Ampere graphics cards. In other small and inconsequential news, Microsoft buys ZeniMax for $7.5 billion. Yes, my
Very,
friends.
small and inconsequential.
The days of independent developers are over, but that's old news. Now the days of large, enormous conglomerate developers are also over. It's all just gonna be one developer. What else we got, Luke?
I also got signed out of the dock right after you did, so I am working on that right now.
Fantastic. Why don't I just do two more? Big NAVI may be faster than the RTX 3080. That's right, my friends. We've got more hype train news for an AMD graphics card. Color me really skeptical. And in other news, Spotify, Tile, ProtonMail, and Basecamp join Epic against Apple. They're calling it the Coalition for App Fairness, or the CAF. The CAF. Just hope it don't get slaughtered.
I feel like we weren't invited.
I rolled the intro already.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to turn up the volume. People have been complaining about the volume of the intro. There you go. Is that better? You guys like that? You like that intro volume? Okay. You good? We good? You okay? You guys okay now? Show is brought to you today by the SteelSeries Rival 3 Wireless. Wow. I don't think we've worked with SteelSeries in a long time. That's sweet. They're back. Everyone comes crawling back. Vessi Footwear, and of course, Ridge Wallet. That's right. If you drop your wallet off a ridge, you want one that's going to survive the fall. I don't think
Speaking of
that's why they call it
survive the fall,
Yeah.
Austin and I were talking about this is off topic. I'll try to make it quick.
Sure.
Austin and I were talking about Highlander, and I brought up how I've been like trying to brainstorm a new one for years, but I've never thought of something that's like really actually cool.
Oh no. What are you pitching me right now?
An interesting idea, and he said he would be in for it. I don't know. It's got some, but an interesting idea. Could be going to Death Valley, where it's obscenely hot.
The world's hottest LAN party, and we try to keep all the PCs running. Because it gets like 50 degrees there, doesn't it?
It gets real freaking hot. And you could even set it up as maybe a competition, like a benchmarking competition.
That's
between
very
different
interesting.
teams.
So the thing is, I actually had the concept a long time ago. Like I probably talked to you about this way back in the day, of doing like kind of like an expose, because when you design a device, so many manufacturers are guilty of this. When you design a device to basically ride its thermal throttling limit, you are inherently introducing inconsistencies in the customer experience. Because if I'm someone who lives in Yukon or Alaska or something, my experience with, let's say, a mobile phone, for example, for many months out of the year might be one of higher performance and yet lower battery compared to someone who lives in Arizona or, somewhere along the equator. And so I had actually, it was just such an ambitious project that I never got around to doing it. But what I had wanted to do was take like a half a dozen phones. Phones were what I was really focused on at the time. But you could do it just as easily with laptops or desktops for that matter. Take half a dozen devices and then like benchmark them in real world conditions, because obviously you could just buy a thermal chamber or whatever and, you know, adjust the humidity on your chamber, and you could simulate it that way. Manufacturers do that, obviously. But the idea of like traveling around the world and seeing, you know, one of the things I wanted to investigate was whether different regional versions of a SKU might actually even be tuned differently, because I've heard of things like that, like the Taiwanese version of some phone being more optimized to deal with high humidity, for example. But I've never seen like concrete proof that that's like an industry-wide thing that happens at any appreciable scale. So I had an idea that's like sort of related to that, but the idea of going down there and making it like a LAN party or like a competition type thing, that's pretty cool.
I like the idea, because like if you do like if you do separate teams and each team can bring their own rig, maybe it has to hit certain specifications or you have a certain budget, I don't know, but each team can bring their own rig and their own like countermeasures. You could maybe go with like a fixed case, or you have to use a test bench or something, and you can't do a covering, so you can't get away from the sun. That was something Austin brought up, and it's a very good point, that like shade would just be super imbalanced. So can't allow shade, and your parts have to be exposed or whatever. So like there can't be any cheating in that way, but however you decide to do your cooling, blah, 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 could be really, really cool. And then you just brought up another thing. I don't know how the competition would tie into this, but you could take the same rigs and the same parts or whatever and go to Alaska.
Yeah, totally. Be like all sub-zero to, you know, 50 degrees above zero or whatever
like
that is.
The temperature delta of those systems would be just obscene.
I know, right? Like how fast does an RTX 3080 go in Death Valley, you know? Yeah.
That'd be really cool. And like you could center the trip around that, but you could do other things while you're there too. You could take like MacBooks that notoriously thermal throttle.
Nick Light's messaging me. He's like, LTTstore.com sun hats, Highlander edition. Thanks, Nick. That was 100% worth pinging the entire thousands of people watching with a Teams notification. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Nick Light. Crumstifer has a PSA for me in the YouTube chat. It's 2020, Linus. Stop calling things dank. This lower third like banner thing that you're looking at is quite literally 4 years old. So that's why hasn't been updated.
Pretty dank super chat, dude. Thanks for calling in.
It wasn't a super chat actually. I just thought it was very funny.
Well, it would have been more dank if it was a super chat. Okay?
Yeah.
Come on.
Apparently dank is still dank according to Avalanche Master. That's a great username. All right. So why don't we jump into our first topic here? NVIDIA's Bonched Ampere launch. You guys clicked on this.
Bonched.
You want to know Bonched. You guys want to know how NVIDIA has disappointed gamers? Well, it sure as heck isn't with their performance, and it sure as heck isn't with their pricing. Gamers are pretty into that right about now. Well, on the 3080 in particular. Where they're disappointing people is actually getting any 3080s in the hands of these non-disappointed gamers.
And having them not crash once you get them.
And having them not crash. So this is kind of like 3 news stories in one, but the 3000 series launch has been fraught with issues. First, low availability thanks to scalper bots, and now so much more. RTX 3080s have been reportedly shipping from NewEgg in what is called OEM packaging. So in other words, the bare card wrapped in bubble wrap and then thrown into a shipping box.
Just a loose box.
Yeah.
Yep.
So OEM packaging is pretty common for things like way back in the day when Asetek first launched the LCLC. So the first closed loop, like all-in-one cooler. The only way to get it, brands like Corsair hadn't launched their rebranded or derivative products yet. So the only way to get it, because I saw it and I was like, big water cooling nerd. I was like, wow, we could like water cool all our pre-built systems. This would be sick. It's gonna be the next big thing. So the only way to get it was to contact Asetek, order a container of them, And they would all just come in, well, OEM packaging, which means it's designed for an OEM. And an OEM in this context means someone who plans to add their own retail packaging solution, their own instructions, their own accessories and decals and whatever the case may be. So silly me, without really giving any thought to how it was actually going to get done, I ordered this entire gigantic thing of these Asetek LCLCs, realized that because no one really like knew about them, they weren't gonna just order systems with them in it, and also our system volume wasn't really that high. And so I ended up actually cutting up the OEM packaging, which was like multiple LCLCs per box with like foam. I ended up cutting up a lot of the OEM packaging, like cutting the foam, and then I sourced boxes, and then I had to like put it in there and like salvage other foam and like make my own packaging for these LCLCs that we ended up spending like the next very long time selling. We did get rid of them. We didn't lose money, but there was some sweat, blood, and tears of mine that went into making that a sort of successful launch. And it was only sort of successful because by the time Corsair launched the H50, did they call it? Yeah, I think they called the H50 with like the same price and, you know, way better instructions and stuff. Yeah, it sort of looked like a bad call. Looked kind of a bad call. Anyway, the point is, someone over at NewEgg is having a similar experience. They got some OEM cards up in here. There's a bubble wrapped card. Can you imagine getting something like an RTX 3080?
Skip to the next picture.
The next one, like in the dock, or
no, in the Reddit thread, there should be an arrow to the right.
Oh well, I don't even read it, Luke. You know that I never read it.
Did you? The like IO plate is bent.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, there you go.
It should still work, actually.
It should, but
Yeah.
still, like that's not what you want to show up when you buy a super premium product like that.
$700 graphics card. That's not.
Like you dropped money on that. It shows up with no box, no like, and I can bet this guy's not going to read the instruction manual, but like it doesn't have it, so it doesn't feel like the premium experience that you just paid for. And it's like literally damaged. Even if it does work, it's literally damaged.
Yeah.
Which is just lame. He might have already flipped his previous card in order to afford this purchase. Now he might have to, I don't know, RMA this or something in order to get one that's like not partially borked.
Jacob from EVGA gave an assessment on the NVIDIA subreddit saying that a very, very small number of cards look to have been shipped from NewEgg in bulk. I wonder what the point of NewEgg having any bulk graphics cards is, though. Like, they did away with their system integrator ages ago. They used to, ABS, I think it was called. But they don't have one anymore. Like, the only reason I can think of to ship cards in bulk like that is to an SI who's going to essentially package it into a complete system. Like, what are they even doing? Does NewEgg do their own builds? Guys, let me know if I'm just totally off base on this.
Here we go, take a look.
I mean, I'm fairly sure that NewEgg ABS systems, I'm fairly sure that's dead. ABS gaming desktops. Hold on a second.
Doesn't look dead.
It doesn't have his own website anymore, but it looks like ABS is a thing still.
Being sold through NewEgg, yeah.
How about that? All right, well, it shows you what I know. They tried to stop it, but the ABS kicked in. Wait, no, hold on. No, that would just stop it faster. Darn it. Okay, wait. How can I salvage this? Nope, I think we're done here. So Anthony put a note on the dock that says, I'm not sure who at the warehouse would have thought it was appropriate to ship a card loose like that.
Yeah.
Let me fill you in on a little something, Anthony. I'm generalizing a little bit here, and there's a lot of people.
Don't care.
There's a lot of people in this, especially this climate, that are probably brilliant people who care a lot and are stuck in a dead-end job in a warehouse. But there's also a lot of people working in a warehouse because, quite frankly, they don't have either the cares or the mental fortitude to do pretty much anything else. I remember watching someone off of at least 4 rungs up an A-frame ladder grab a box, an entire master carton of optical drives, and toss it down onto the concrete floor instead of carrying it down. I saw that happen, and I was like, what are you doing? Like,
someone said in the chat, minimum wage, minimum effort, and like, yeah, it's not
there's also
necessarily a great
people,
attitude to have if you want to rise up,
yeah,
but like I think that type of approach is taken a lot, and like having worked those types of jobs as I think most of us have, you definitely see a lot of it. And like, not my problem is another big one that's going to be pushed. So
yep.
like if they're told to ship this thing and it comes down the line, it doesn't have a box, I suspect a lot of the approach is going to be
Yep.
like, well, I got to fill my orders. Shoop.
Yep. Well, part of the, okay, so I agree with you that in condemning minimum wage, minimum effort, absolutely, because a lot of what we look for in people is very strong passion for what they're doing, and we love rewarding that. Absolutely love it. The problem though is that not every company has that attitude. And so aside from like, so yes, 100% condemn minimum wage, minimum effort, but that's a systemic problem where people are basically reduced to the quota that they're supposed to fill and essentially, you know, treated like, okay, like you can't expect an employee to view the relationship as anything other than transactional, right? Like you can't expect them to see anything other than the paycheck if you don't see anything other than the number of widgets they stuff in a box and kick out the door. That's your problem.
Yeah.
There's no relationship. So you can't be like, look, you need to value the company and care about the company and care about the customer. I don't give a fuck about the customer. Like, what's the customer ever done for me? The customer pays you. They don't pay me. So I can see where this attitude can come from if you are creating a culture, like a work culture of only valuing output. And the problem is, like, I see it from both sides. I really do. Like, I worked at a volume business e-tail organization for years. And now I'm on the other side of it, working as the boss of an organization of 36 plus people. And, you know, from my perspective, the only thing, you guys got to understand this, the only thing that pays our bills and pays our staff's paychecks is views. That's it. At the end of the day, everything else is derived from views. So where do views come from? From videos. So we have quotas. Like, we have targets. You guys ever notice that Linus Tech Tips uploads a video every day, come hell or high water? You ever notice TechWiki uploads a video once every 3 to 4 days, 2 videos per week, come hell or high water? You notice TechLink goes up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, regardless of whether it's a vacation day or whatever the case may be. To be clear, those people do get the time off, just not on that day. We schedule around it. The point is that ain't an accident. You have to have quotas. You just also have to make sure that people see the value of their work and the value of themselves in ways that aren't just money, or it's always going to be purely transactional and you can expect to get out exactly what you put in. And from the flip side, you know, as long as you're putting in exactly what you feel like you're being paid for, I as an employer will never give you more. With that said, a lot of employers will never give you more regardless. So I can see where a lot of that jaded attitude absolutely comes from. 100%. The funny thing is,
especially when you've been working that job for like an obscenely long amount of time or something, because I know, like, from my experience, what I would say is, like, I got a lot of opportunities and a lot of jobs and stuff very early on, like especially when I was working at like Best Buy and stuff. I'm talking like real early on. By like pushing really hard to try to do well. I had customers try to hire me on the spot. Because usually people in those positions just don't care. So if you try to show that you do care, your fellow employees years down the line might be in a position where they need someone and they might remember you and they might want to bring you up. That's not always going to be the situation. You might be in a situation where there isn't a single person you work with that you would ever want to call you up down the line. And et cetera. And you might be stuck in a dead end job forever where your boss doesn't care, et cetera, et cetera.
I've got an example of that. So the guy who does the fulfillment for LTTstore.com, is actually one of the old warehouse guys from NCIX. So he broke off, he started up his own thing, and he just like reached out randomly. He was like, hey bro, just letting you know, like, I'm doing this. Got no idea if this is relevant. At the time it wasn't. And I was like, sweet, dude. I remember working with you. You're sweet. You're awesome. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we like, I think we like cut it off with Teespring or something like that, because something made me mad or something. And, I was like, hey, we you know what? We're just going to take everything in-house. And I don't mean in-house directly in our house, but we're going to take control over, how we handle our merch. And we called them up and we basically figured out if we could integrate Shopify with their system, and we could. And all of a sudden, they are shipping thousands of packages a month for us. And it's like, that is not insignificant amounts of money anymore. So he turned a positive impression with a former coworker into
it's a thing, man.
A revenue stream.
It's seriously a thing. Yeah.
So never underestimate the power of networking, basically, is sort of one of the lessons here.
Another thing I would say, as I don't know why we're on this topic for so long, but another thing I would say, having done this myself, is until you're a boss, there's going to be a lot of things that you do that you think are like clever or fine or whatever. And then you end up figuring out down the line that you're just a super douche. Linus is just smiling.
Who are you talking about, Luke?
Me. I'm talking about me. 100%. I've done so much stuff that like, oh my God, I don't know how you still talk to me at all. There's things that like, I'll be like trying to fall asleep. And I know this is like a meme, but you're like trying to fall asleep and then your brain's just like, hey, remember that thing you did? And you're just like, oh God. There's so many of those things. Try to reduce those things for your own sake and whoever is your current boss. Because oh my God.
I was having like, I don't remember why I was like reflecting on, my past, my life a little while back. But there's this person in high school that I was always just mean to for no reason whatsoever. I was just, I think the thing that made me think of it this particular time was I read a tweet that I don't know how credible it was or whatever, but I read a tweet from someone who claims to know someone who claims to have gone to high school with me and that I was a douche. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of people who wouldn't have agreed with that sentiment. And there's even more people who would have been like, Linus who? I was not popular or anything. But there was like at least a couple of people who I was like, yeah, I would have absolutely deserved that description. And what I decided to do was, because it was something that had come up with me, like that I had thought of a lot of times, is I was like, it has been 15 years, but I'm going to look them up on Facebook and I'm going to be like, hey, sorry about that. And it was actually one of the most, like, I realize it's like kind of selfish of me to even think about it this way, to think about it in terms of like how much it helped me, because obviously it wasn't about me, but I felt so much better. Like it was crazy. This is someone I haven't seen in 15 years, had really no relationship to speak of with them, even when I did know them, because like, obviously we didn't hang out. But I was just like, hey, I don't even know if you remember me, but if you do, it's probably not great. And I'm really sorry. And they were like, yeah, I remember you. And no, it wasn't. And, but she was like, it's okay. You know, we were all dumb kids, and I forgive you. And I was like, wow, you are super cool. And if you were always that cool, then I feel even worse. I don't know if she was always that cool, but
I think one of the biggest things for me growing up, like my tastes haven't changed much. The things I like doing for fun haven't changed much.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I think I'm young at heart in a lot of ways, but I think probably the main one is that I like consider the actual ramifications and the actual impact on other people of my actions more, because I think I didn't do that very much in the past.
You're a boundary pusher, which is, I think, why I have such a soft spot for you. I recognize it, and I have a lot of patience for it because I see my own path in it. And, I like to think that at some point, everyone kind of wakes up and goes, hey, when the point of, making a request, for example, hey, can I expense this pack of gummy bears or whatever it is? The point is not whether the other person will say yes or no. The point is whether I should ask in the first place.
Yeah.
And that can have such an impact on a relationship. And
you won't necessarily know a lot of the time and stuff too. Yeah.
No, you don't know. And a lot of not knowing is just not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the gummy bear example, I don't think was actually Luke, by the way. That was someone else. They know who they are. Did you ever try and expense candy?
I never intentionally did. I think a receipt might have gone through at one point.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is we were a very small company at the time. And so it was we tried to kind of focus on essentials. I would never buy bottled water at an airport, I would make sure I carry a water bottle so I can fill it at the water fountain and carry it onto the plane. And I tried
I used to have a Camel pack, and I would steal water anywhere I could that I knew was fresh and good and fill my Camel pack so I wouldn't have to buy bottles. Anyway, sorry.
At CES and stuff. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So I tried to lead by example. So for me, part of it was just this is it would disappoint me when people kind of didn't get it. I did see a comment in the chat. Linus was a bully, LOL. I never really had the kind of clout or influence to be a bully. I would probably describe it more as small dog syndrome. I was always kind of underfoot. And so I would lash out at people who I wouldn't even describe them as lower down the totem pole than me even. It was just, I guess I would lash out at people sometimes who I didn't think would fight back. I was not always very nice. And that is definitely the textbook case of a bully, but I wasn't by any stretch like a career bully. I mostly just minded my own business. There were just some mistakes that I absolutely made. Very, very, very poor judgment. And yeah, it was just, it was lame, and I feel better now. We had some small talk, she's got kids now. I got kids, got that common ground. We're not going to be besties or anything, obviously, but it was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
I just hope and as a parent, I just hope my kids don't have to do that, but they will. They'll probably be
I was going to say, I think
make mistakes.
A lot of it's part of just growing up.
Staking out your territory and stuff
yeah. And you can't understand properly that that's really not a way to treat people until you've done that, if that makes sense. I was never a bully. I don't think there's a single person from my school that would call me a bully, but I was also really big compared to other people and never really understood that very well. So every once in a while I would do something thinking it was funny, and then someone would get hurt, and I'd be holy shit, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was only one time that you really scared me that I can think of. I don't know, maybe there was more than once, but there was definitely one time you really scared the pants off me.
What? When?
I don't forget what I did. I did something to you, whether it was spraying you in the face with a water gun or something, but it was in the back alley behind the old house that we used to work out of. And I got it in my head that my strat to get away from you, because I had a pretty good head start, my strat to get away was I was going to scale the fence, which I thought you'd probably have more difficulty than me getting over, and then I would be able to go hide. That was pretty much my thought process. So I did something to you and I booked it. And you caught up to me so fast, and I think you pulled me down off the fence or something like that. And I was like, huh. So if I ever actually crossed this guy, he would not only take down my website, delete my YouTube channel, he could probably also kill me pretty quickly. That's good to know. I think more CEOs should work shoulder to shoulder with their staff who are much bigger than them. It might give them less of a God complex.
Okay, yeah, I'm usually the big guy in the room, and then we have a meetup, and I figure out that not one, but two of my employees are bigger than I. Like Jaden's taller than me, and then Jonathan is actually a giant.
Jaden's a stick, though. No offense, Jaden. I think you could take him.
Poor Jaden.
All right. We should continue talking about NVIDIA's disappointment here. All right. So if that weren't enough, NVIDIA's store website has been found leaking personal information. Upon realizing this, NVIDIA closed the store page in question while they tried to figure out what's going on. Oof. Then, making matters worse, third-party RTX 3080s from the likes of MSI, Zotac, and EVGA have been, apparently users of our own forum, have been experiencing crashes. No, not the LinusTechTips.com users.
No.
Wow, this is like a 5-page thread and stuff. Dang. Okay. So the issue appears to show up in certain groups of games when the boost clock exceeds 2 gigahertz. Early observations show that once clocks reach a certain speed, the game crashes to desktop like clockwork. Ha ha ha, got 'em. There's currently no official statement from any board partner, but Computerbase has confirmed that they are in contact with the manufacturers and have been unable to reproduce the issue themselves. It's not clear why it's happening, with speculation around power supplies, software, or driver bugs, or even aggressive factory overclocks from board partners trying to compete with Founders Edition. Now, I'm actually kind of tempted. Where the crap is my phone? I'm kind of tempted to give Anthony a call because he was actually having some crashing issues with our first 3080. And I think that it was either just that game never got working, or he might have actually resolved it by switching power supplies, even though theoretically the power supply we had ample capacity for the RTX 3080. Let me just get him on the line while I run through a couple more notes here. So Igor's lab said it's plausibly a result of power filtering design variation for the GPU's die. Hey, Anthony, you're on WAN Show. Is that cool? Are you like off work right now or what?
I mean, I'm in the car, but it's okay.
Okay, he's in the car, so that's good. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Let me just turn up the sorry, I'm bumping the mic. Let me turn up the volume a little bit so I don't have to have you quite so close to the mic. Okay, so hey, Anthony, did we ever figure out why our 3080 Founders was crashing at first when you were working on the review?
I'm trying to think now.
It was a rough week for him.
Yeah, a rough couple of weeks. I mean, NVIDIA back to back. Yeah, anyway. I think it was the memory speed on the CPU.
Okay, so
that was causing the problem.
So not probably related to the crashing to desktop that people are seeing.
Probably not, though we did have that power supply thing with 850 watt.
Yeah, where theoretically 850 watts is lots, especially for a 3080, and yet here we are.
Yeah. Apparently, it's something to do with the transient response and the power supply, overcurrent protection, tripping, yada, yada, etc.
Etc. Got it. All right, cool. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Later. All right, so blah, blah, blah. So monolithic, conductive, polymer, tantalum solid capacitors are being used more often on the boards that have been implicated, which is interesting. So far, crash-free are Asus and NVIDIA's Founders Editions, and they use groups of smaller multi-layer ceramic chip capacitors or a mix of both. Igor's lab indicates that NLCCs offer better filtering. So users on Reddit are, of course, compiling lists of cards with MLCC groups versus pos caps, but that probably doesn't tell the whole story. Jay from Jay's 2 cents, he's an okay guy, I guess, reported that electronics engineers on Reddit are cautioning against oversimplifying the problem here. Each type of capacitor has their pros and cons, and the only inherent difference between the two that might be relevant at the moment is that pos caps perform worse at high frequencies, and cards that use pos caps could have other filtering down the line before they get to the GPU to compensate anyway. So it's a developing story. If you've got one that crashes, so if you've got one, don't check your GPU and get mad you've got pos caps. It could be fine. But that's not the only third-party problem either. Some board partners have also been accused of selling slower cards at the same price as Founders Editions in order to differentiate their higher-end SKUs that they can sell for more. Womp, womp, womp. So this was posted by Spartaman64 over on the forum. And one of the examples was the Zotac 3080 Trinity model. That is pretty rough. The card is designed to perform worse than Founders Edition, so Zotac could differentiate it from the higher end models they're planning to put out. I mean,
funky.
Huh.
By the way, there's been some comments about this. I am sure he was on a hands-free device, probably a like answer call through your steering wheel thing. I'm sure he wasn't holding his phone to his head.
Oh, Anthony gets a ride from his SO.
Oh, there you go. Passenger seat.
Yeah, there's no way he was driving. I like actually know that for a fact. You know, far too much about a lot. Like, it's funny. I had like dinner with like Pella's parents at one point. Like, it's like weird because especially in our business of making videos that a lot of the time are about telling personal stories, we end up telling the personal stories of my staff because eventually I run out of personal stories about me. So we were making a video about whether a tinfoil hat would actually like block your brainwaves.
Oh, yeah.
And as it happens, Pella's mom is something of an enthusiast when it comes to that stuff. So we drove over to the island and she had like all this gear for like measuring like RF, like ambient RF and like all this kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is great. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I've had dinner with Jaden and his mom.
See, it just kind of happens, right?
I think smaller companies, you just kind of, you become, you're a little bit more entwined.
I kind of miss it sometimes, you know? Like, we're at the point now where we're big enough that the only reason that I know anything about like one of our new editors, Nicole, is because I've been desperate for a ride home a couple times and she happens to go my way. And like, it's the funny because like, I don't have like the close relationship with her that I'd feel like I could just be like, hey, yo, I need a ride. Like, if it was you, and it's like 20 minutes out of your way, I'd just be like, you know, it, Luke, I need a ride. Like, let's go, bro. Whereas that's someone that like is kind of relatively new here. And I always feel like as CEO, I need to be so careful what I ask of people. Because if I ask them to do me a personal favor and they feel like their professional position working under me it makes it so they can't say no, I could accidentally cause someone to like, you know, miss an important family event or something because I just like needed a ride when it honestly wasn't that urgent because I could have just borrowed the work truck. I just didn't want to drive in separately the next morning. So it would be nice if I could get a ride. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put people in a position where they feel, you know, burdened. But then the flip side of it is without those personal interactions, just like, you know, driving in the car together, you're never going to get to know the person. So how do you fix that when the company gets bigger and bigger? I don't know. Sorry, this is like very off topic. It's just sort of related to what we were talking about earlier. I have no idea. I don't have the viewer like chart open right now. I have no idea if people find this interesting. Apparently they do. So there you go. We're going to stay the course, boys. But yeah, I just don't really have a solution to that. Like, Luke and I worked shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip for, over
a long time.
Yeah, like a couple years before I was ever even his boss formally. Like, I was like sort of his boss, but also like we both worked for the man at that time. So there's already this like camaraderie that exists. Whereas the bigger we get, the more separated I am from everything. Like, I don't even interview people anymore. People literally start their first day at Linus Media Group now, and I have never exchanged a word with them. And so it's like kind of awkward a little bit because I'm not used to it.
Yeah, for sure. I would be very not used to that as well. And it's going to be weird. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Like, you haven't been to the office for 6 months.
It would be.
You wouldn't recognize
to me. Yeah. It would be extremely foreign to me.
Like, have you even
and I'm assuming people have moved and stuff too, like desk locations. Like,
oh yeah, everyone's all over the place. Like,
yeah, so it would be very weird.
Have you even met Nicole?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you remember Hoffman from his first stint? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. He's okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The point is that the RTX 3090 launch reviews ended up being pretty underwhelming to many, with performance high, but not in line with the extra cost. And there's a bunch of other notes here, but can I start by saying, was anybody surprised by this? Like maybe I've just gotten jaded. Maybe that's why I didn't, ream on this enough in our review, because what you guys see when you see a GPU review is you see Anthony's testing and his script after he and I have spent, in some cases, as little as 20 minutes, and in other cases, as much as a couple of hours, going through and adjusting it and analyzing and discussing and changing the flow and editing it. That's what you guys see. And between the two of us, neither of us, again, maybe we're just so cynical now that we're just like, well, yeah, of course the top tier one costs some ungodly amount of money that nobody can afford. Maybe we're just so jaded, so cynical that we just didn't even think to complain about it, because what were you expecting? NVIDIA was very clear that RTX 3080 is the top of the line. And RTX 3090 is this because we can product. Like, look at the thing. It's only 20% faster and yet draws up to 500 watts at peak. They are clearly, absolutely pushing the limit of their engineering just because they can. Who was expecting it to be bang for the buck? Who? Where are you? Stand up so I can slap you. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Luke, were you expecting the 3090 to be a great value?
I was highly concerned about the card in general, I guess, because and they kind of did it again. But I had remembered when they were talking about performance numbers and they're being very vague with them, and they were actually talking about specifically the VR performance numbers, but they didn't really disclose that. And this time around, they didn't disclose that super clearly. Yeah. And this time around, they did the same thing. And it was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I tried to call that out, and people were like, no, dude. No, there's no way.
Okay, this is great. This is great. Half Empty Mug says they marketed a workstation card to gamers. Do you remember the 690? Do you remember the 690? Remember the 690?
So many of them.
Okay, so 690. 690 is really funny because NVIDIA explicitly said in the keynote, this is not a card for gamers. And then, do you know what they did? They had banners on NewEgg.com, okay, that were like the ultimate card for gaming. How dare they? You know what the cold hard truth is? NVIDIA's marketing, as far as I can tell, is as much about what people want them to say as it is about what's actually relevant. Because the fact of the matter is, the kind of customer I have spoken, not just spoken with, this is really funny. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. I have gone to the houses of these kinds of customers because I gave NCIX way too much value for their money. Like, thinking back to it, I had a customer that bought one of our very, very high-end water-cooled systems, and he had some kind of problem with it. And literally, without the company even knowing I was doing it, which I'm sure is like a problem in some way or other, I literally got in my car, drove to his house, fixed it, and then like went home at the end of the day. Like, I went in the evening and like fixed his computer and then went home. Anyway, where was I going with this? Shoot. Right. So the point is, I have spoken to these customers. So the kinds of people, there's only one kind of person that buys a product like this. There's two kinds of people. There's the kinds that like just want the absolute best performance. So someone who is really after every competitive edge, where 20% different performance basically means 20% faster frame times. Sign me up. I'll take it. That's number one. Those are pretty rare. Number two is the same kind of person who shows up at the car dealership, doesn't even ask what all the different packages are, and is basically like, I don't even want to talk about it unless it's a fully loaded model. You know what I mean? I want the one with all the features. It doesn't matter what those features are. I don't know. I might need it someday. I don't want to have that stress in my life that maybe I missed out on some feature that I might have liked to use, and I can afford to not have that stress. Take my money. I'll pick it up whenever. I'll pick it up tomorrow because you'll have it ready because I just bought the fully loaded model, and that's how I swagger. That's the other kind. And those are the kinds of people to whom, the difference between a $700 graphics card and a $1,500 graphics card is frankly not that much. Because think about it this way. They already bought the Threadripper, whatever, $2,000 CPU and the $700 motherboard and the $1,000 worth of high-speed memory and the $800 power supply. They are already spending $5,000 on this system. So let's do some real fun math here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do some real fun math. If I'm already spending $5,000, what is another... What does that work out to? 800? Is that $1,500 for the 3090? So 800 divided by $5,000. Wow, 16%. So when you're already spending that kind of money, well, 16% for another 15 to 20% performance uplift, it's a no-brainer. It's just a completely different class of system. That's the thing that people are trying to wrap their brains around and not really realizing, I think, is that for that customer, it does make sense. And you can say, it's still too expensive, and that's fine, which is why NVIDIA has more than one product. Go buy something else. That's just the way that it is. The yields on that card are definitely going to be lower. The cost, the R&D that went into creating that card in the first place, given that it's going to be a lower volume model, is going to be proportionally higher on a per card basis. And there's the fact that this is NVIDIA. If they think they can charge more for it, they will. What did you think was going to happen? There. That's my thought on it. I will now look at my notes and see what I was supposed to say. Any thoughts, Luke? It seems like you've been working on something over there. Is there a crisis, or are we okay?
A little bit. No, there's something cool.
Oh, okay.
Floatplane chat has pop-out now.
Finally!
It was updated, and it now works. You might have to refresh the page.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, now I can use that when I'm doing my VR streams, I hope, if I ever get them working again. All right, so let me have a look at what I was supposed to say. So workstation performance was crippled thanks to NVIDIA locking off Titan driver optimizations on the 3090, directing users to buy a Titan or a Quadro instead, despite having introduced the card as Titan class. That was lame, and we called them out for that. I didn't like that either. This is only compounded by the leaked 20 gig version of the RTX 3080. Which in our testing and by NVIDIA's own admission is only 10 to 15% slower than the 3090, making that card's main advantage, which is its 24 gigs of memory, much less appealing for those who can wait a little while. Like, we're planning to upgrade our workstations. We were running into problems with our previous 2080 Supers, just running out of VRAM. The editors are running out of video memory. And we actually had planned to go Quadro P6000. So we were going to go, because they have 24 gigs of RAM, which is what we found is a really good sweet spot for some of the work that we do. And that was going to be a pretty significant compute performance hit. That's like 2 generations. So hold on a second. We got our Turing, we got our Pascal, we got our Volta, we got, so we're going all, oh wait, no, that's Turing, bloody hell, Ampere, Turing, Volta, and then all the way to Pascal. So that's 4 generations old at this point. But yeah, if we could just go RTX 3080, that would be great. That'd be freaking awesome. We were planning to go 3090, but we might not have to. In fact, actually, apparently we're just pivoting to, we're talking about the leaked cards. So Galax has leaked their own 20 gig variant along with RTX 3060 as shown in a photograph of a Galax company meeting in China. Oh, this is terrific. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 3090, 3080 20 gig, 3080 10 gig, PG 142 SKU 0. What is that? 3070 and 3060. I am so jazzed for 3070 and 3060. Like, look at this. A 3060 class card that they're expecting to be in line with RTX 2080. Like, what?
That's
Like,
pretty fantastic.
Yeah, like that could be a like $399, like $349 even card. Should I hope for $299? Probably not. It's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be $349.
I feel like they're trying to move away from that, but that would be very cool.
I'm going to guess $349. All right. And so some people are mad because, you know, the high memory versions of those other cards would eat into the RTX 3090's market position for all but 8K gaming, which is only possible on a few optimized titles unless you use DLSS 2.0. I mean, the thing about the whole 8K gaming thing is like, it's along the same lines as something like RTX last time around, where it's capable of it, but yes, you're asking for some stars to align in order to really have that experience. Personally, I found it absolutely exciting from just a technological standpoint. And yes, Doom Eternal is an extraordinarily well-optimized game, but that doesn't mean it's not a pretty one. That gaming experience, particularly Doom Eternal, was unlike anything I have ever done. And I have tried basically everything at this point. So should we look at NVIDIA and say, you guys are bad boys marketing this card as 8K gaming capable, when what they have done is delivered a very powerful GPU with a ton of VRAM? Or should we turn to the game developers and say, hey, that game looks gorgeous and runs great at 8K. Why doesn't yours? So it's a chicken and egg thing. Over the next few years, we might see better optimization of games because we're going to be targeting higher fidelity levels and higher resolutions for these next-gen consoles. And we might see, you know, speed bumps or like a next-gen, like an RTX 4000 series or whatever, and 8K gaming might happen for real. But for now, I really don't think NVIDIA is actually expecting a ton of people to run out and buy the card for 8K gaming and go buy a $30,000 TV to go with it. I think for them, it was just a big flex because it's something no one else can do. And, you know, dang it, if I was Jensen and I wanted to make a big flex, I think 8K gaming might be it. I get it.
If you have a marble stove, maybe you just got to do some stuff.
Yeah. Like I get it. I get why they did it, and I'm not mad about it, but I can see why people are mad about it because, yeah, it's like a big flex. But all those people who are upset that they feel misled, ask yourself this. Did it matter? Was it in any meaningful way? Were you going to buy one? Like, I wouldn't. Even at my peak of spending all of my disposable income on tech, there was no way I would buy something like that. The closest I ever got was I bought two 7800 GTXs because I found them on Craigslist for an unbelievable deal from some guy who was like, I'm kind of like sick of SLI. I want to like try Crossfire for a bit. So he was literally upgrading from two 7900 GTXs to two X1950 XTXs or something like that, or cross-grading. It's not even an upgrade at that point.
Yeah.
And he was getting rid of them for nothing because he just didn't feel like dealing with it. You can't give it away because then you get all the losers showing up and they're just unreasonable, flaky people whenever you like post something for free. So he posted it for cheap because that's when you get a serious buyer who's going to show up when they say they're going to show up and they don't waste your time. So I show up, I buy these, and like I ran them for like 2 or 3 days. That was it. Because I was so paranoid that some new leak was going to come out or some new product was going to come out that was going to devalue them or something. Maybe he knew something I didn't know, and I needed to get rid of them because I had way too much money tied up in a part that I was worried was going to depreciate so fast. So
yeah, on like to jump back a little bit in terms of like I wouldn't buy one of these. Personally, I am very happy with my current 1440p monitor and feel no need to upgrade at all. And like what is exciting about new cards is better frame rates at that resolution at better qualities. Because I find like some really high fidelity games, maintaining a minimum at 144 at maximum quality is still really freaking tough.
Yeah, need a little more grunt.
So like, yeah, I'll take the extra power for sure, but like I don't know. I don't need that memory buffer.
Marge Owen says, yes, it does matter. What these companies do impacts the whole market. Not really. What customers buy impacts the market. The reason RTX 3000 exists is because people didn't buy RTX 2000. That's why. It's all about what the market will bear. Nothing else actually matters. NVIDIA made a calculation that they were going to make this RTX 3090 card for millionaires and the maximum performance at any cost crowd. And you're mad because you were never the customer for it anyway. And all the people who were the customer for it, they do not give a shit. That's all there is to it. They're not mad. They don't care because to them...
And they have always marketed these cards. Like Titans, come on.
Yep.
Titans were always marketed.
8800 Ultra. 8800 Ultra. It's like 12 years ago or whatever. How many years ago is that? Holy
This
crap.
whole time they've been
ago.
like, it's not for gamers.
But also,
Unless
8K
you want the
gaming.
performance.
Yeah.
It's not for gamers though.
Unless you have a $30,000 TV, boys.
Yeah.
That $30,000 TV. I'm kind of tempted to do a review of it. Should I do a review of it? Because I got a lot to say actually. It's so ridiculous. Get this.
We actually did it.
Get this. You cannot wall mount it. It's $30,000 and it has less features than a $300 TV I could get at Walmart.
You should just like troll them super hard and build a mount that comes out of the wall, but you still sit it on it.
Oh my God. I actually kind of love it. Hex, it's like so patronizing. It's not my fault you needed to explain to you. I'm going to get canceled, aren't I? Oh my God, we should totally mount it on the wall. Anyway, the thing is so ridiculous because it's the kind of product that only exists as like an art piece. Because anyone who can afford a $30,000 television clearly doesn't ask how much it costs. And honestly, they're not even buying it for the TV. They might not even watch it. They're probably too busy, merging and taking over companies or doing whatever the crap else it is that they do.
I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot of money that never do anything.
Okay, that's fair. But they wouldn't necessarily buy this one because it's like, as far as I can tell, it's intended to be more of an art piece. Like you can't mount it properly. Like that's ridiculous. Me, the pragmatic guy, look, that TV is sitting in our studio. I think we're supposed to send it back to NVIDIA. I actually don't know. I actually don't know what the plan is for that TV. Nick arranged the whole thing. But I didn't even ask if I could take it home. Where the heck would I put it? It's 88 inches and it doesn't wall mount. It has to sit on the ground. The stand's not even high enough to be at a comfortable viewing height. Like it's obviously just a flex. No one's buying that for like the viewing experience. Like if you have that kind of money and you are actually an enthusiast, you're pulling an Anon from 10, 15 years ago and you are building like a room, like a home theater room. And you're either going very high-end projector or more realistically these days, you're going with something like a Samsung The Wall. Like that is crazy stuff. And you're spending $500,000 on it. Like by the time you can spend 30 grand on a TV, what's $500,000? Who cares? What's the difference? Firestorm says, Linus, you're not being fair to some of us. Answer me this. If you did video production and can't afford a brand new RTX Quadro 6000, would you buy the RTX 3090 or the RTX Titan? It's a no-brainer. I would buy the 3090 because from that perspective, it's actually a great value. But then why are you mad? What are you even talking about? It absolutely stomps all over those previous options for that particular workload. Now, I can see people being mad about the fact that RTX 3080 with 20 gigs of RAM is coming, but that ain't new either. There's always a new product coming that's going to devalue the one you have.
Why are they? Oh, that's why they're mad? I was going to ask why they're mad.
Because they don't want to...
I don't think that's reasonable either because of what you just said. There's always a new product coming.
There's always an early adopter tax.
Of course.
That's why they launched the high-end one first. That's like saying, oh, people who buy the RTX 3080 should be upset because there's going to be an RTX 3070. Of course there is. People who buy the RTX 3070 should be mad because there's going to be an RTX 4000 series. Of course there is. What do you guys want?
If you bought a 1080, there was a 1080 Ti coming down the line.
That's the game. You don't like the game? Don't play the game. Go home. Take your ball. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. There are ways to navigate this ecosystem, but you have to take it upon yourself. You have to be an educated consumer. That's how, as a student, I was able to have a baller gaming rig, because I never actually lost money on it. I spent money, but it was cumulative. I would buy things for cheap. I would sell them for more. I'd build systems for people on the side. I'd put that money back into my hobby. And while, yes, I did own like a $2,000 like sick rig or whatever, that was money that had like kind of cycled through multiple parts over and over and over again. So I was at worst losing, 5% on an upgrade from one gen to the next gen. And that means you have to constantly be watching the rumors, watching the news, reading the reviews, really knowing not just the cost of the products, but the value of the products. That's why you would never buy, something that you think is going to depreciate too much, because, hey, something new could come out and then you just got owned. It's like the same as
1080 Ti versus 1080 is not comparable to 20 gigabyte model versus 10 gigabyte model. You're right. I was just talking about there's a new product coming down the line, which was the current statement, actually.
Yeah. What are you going to do about it? All right. Let's, should we actually talk about, oh my goodness, we haven't even talked about our sponsors.
We've talked about almost nothing.
Yeah, well, yes and no. That was
We've
like
done very extensively one topic.
3 topics in one, and also
that's true. That's fair.
We reflected on our younger selves.
A lot.
Ridge Wallet, and reflect on that. Stop carrying pointless items around in your pocket, like receipts, old hotel room keys, and spent gift cards. Like anyone goes to a hotel anymore. Ridge Wallet helps you carry less. They use 2 metal plates that are bound by a strong elastic band to keep your cards tightly together, but still easily accessible. They're RFID blocking, they offer a lifetime guarantee, and they're available in aluminum, carbon fiber, and titanium. They don't just sell wallets, they got battery banks, bags, smartphone covers, and more, and you can use offer code Linus to save 10% at ridgewallet.com/Linus. Also brought to you by the SteelSeries Rival 3 Wireless. It offers 400 hours off of a single charge with their Quantum Wireless 2.0 built in for nearly 0 latency. It's got 2.4 gigahertz and Bluetooth operating modes with switches that are rated for 60 million clicks. I swear to you, this like switch actuations marketing has gotten out of hand. Who clicks a mouse 60 million times? You're gonna need a new finger before you need a new mouse. It's made with hyper durable materials, and you can save up to 5 custom profiles on the mouse itself, with each one having different settings for games and RGB and all that good stuff. So go to steelseries.com and check out the Rival 3 Wireless today. Finally, the show is brought to you by Vessi Footwear. Thanks, Vessi Footwear. You guys make super light shoes that are comfortable and water resistant. You can walk around in almost any terrain while keeping your feet dry, and they just announced, not that recently, but their new weekend shoe. They have a look that fits almost all occasions, and actually a lot of people at the office are wearing them because Vessi just sent a gigantic thing of shoes, and people were like, oh, cool, free stuff. But then the fact that they're still wearing them seems to indicate that they're pretty decent. So get $25 each pair with offer code WAN Show at vessi.com/WAN Show. All right. What topic you want to do? You want to do Microsoft buys ZeniMax for $7.5 billion?
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Hit me. Tell me about it.
So the first thing that I want to go into is the 7.5 billion number. Because at a certain value, I think people's brains just go it's a lot, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's actually a gargantuan number. Something that got brought up, this is not original research by me. I saw this on a tweet, I think, was someone was looking at Disney's acquisitions in comparison to this. Pixar in 2006 cost Disney less to buy than ZeniMax.
Wow.
Pixar.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
Marvel in 2009 cost Disney a little over half of what ZeniMax cost. Pixar was 7.4 billion, technically below. Marvel was 4 billion. Lucasfilm in 2012 was also 4 billion.
Can you imagine if Microsoft had bought Lucasfilm?
But like at this rate, they could have bought Marvel and Lucasfilm for like barely more than they bought ZeniMax. Like
What would you rather
both of
own,
them.
Marvel and like Star Wars or ZeniMax? That kind of seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Right? Like this price is huge. And like I don't know, maybe there was a bidding war going on or something. I have no idea. But like that's a monstrous.
I mean, it's not like these aren't hugely influential intellectual properties. We're talking Bethesda Softworks.
For sure.
So there's your Elder Scrolls, your Fallout, id Software, got your Doom, Quake, and Rage, Arcane Studios, so that's Dishonored and Prey, Machine Games, Wolfenstein, and more. And this grows the number of in-house Xbox game development studios to 23, up from 15. That is
huge.
freaking
Like it's
nuts.
massive. They're a massive acquisition. It's just like 7.5 billion is a lot of money. That's just that. It's like, wow. And like it really bought them something amazing, which is there's been so, and like this isn't going to change that necessarily, but there's been so much talk about like, oh, well, the PlayStation has the good exclusives. And yes, the exclusives that were coming from ZeniMax to the PlayStation, that is all, Microsoft is not messing with those agreements. That is all going to still be honored.
So Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo are both going to be timed exclusives for Sony.
But Microsoft is just like, I don't know, they're muscling up. Like
This is
huge.
Yeah. Like, it's all fine and good to be able to negotiate exclusives with independent developers, but if there are no independent developers left, you basically have to be Nintendo. And at what point does Microsoft just go, yoink and buy Nintendo? No, they probably couldn't. Nintendo has so much. Yeah. How would you even buy Nintendo's bank account? Like, how much cash does Nintendo have on hand?
It's huge. I'm also really, really hoping, because like when I was a younger me, Bethesda was my favorite developer.
How about now? How about now?
Not so much. You know? Not so much. The state of Elder Scrolls, they've been releasing the same damn game for like 9 years, which is obscene. Like there was decently large release gaps between their previous games because they made giant games in the Elder Scrolls series. But now it's just huge and unreasonable. And then Fallout 76 was just absolute trash, like just terrible game. They literally gave it out for free because no one was buying it because it was so garbage. Like, hopefully a new owner can light some fire under their buns. And also Obsidian and Bethesda having the same parent company, and this has been pointed out a million times as well, but that is super cool because we could be looking for like new Obsidian Fallout game. Which is awesome because Fallout New Vegas was great.
Nintendo has over 11 billion cash on hand, in case you were wondering.
That's actually just so amazing.
Like that's let's just make our own theme park money, you know?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Do you want to? Hey, okay. I know I say stuff like this sometimes, and I don't always follow through. We haven't watched Star Wars together at all yet, but I'm going to say this now. We're going to go to Nintendo Land together once this lockdown crap is over. All right?
I'm so down.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
We're going to Japan. All right?
Beautiful.
All right.
Japan we were there for an extremely short period. I don't know if you've gone back, but
no, I haven't. That was it.
Yeah. We were there for an extremely short period of time, and that was one of my favorite trips I've ever done in my life.
It was sweet.
We were there for like 36 hours or something.
Hey, we made the most of it.
We did.
Got that ramen.
I recently showed someone, I don't even remember why, but I showed someone the Omron tour video. And I had forgotten until I brought it up, but I remembered like the state in which we filmed that
Ed
video.
was so drunk. It was bad, and none of the rest of us knew how to operate the camera. Like,
oh jeez, that was quite the trip.
It was absolutely horrible. Like, man, the way that guy used to drink, I'm glad he still works, is alive to work here. Sorry, Ed, maybe this isn't something you would have had me talk. I don't think he cares, but
that's why I only said the state of the video. But
well, okay. To be clear, okay, hold on a second. I should clarify. It wasn't an all the time thing. It was a when
No.
we traveled thing. So he
And
was
when it was free.
yeah, when it was free, wow, did he ever put it away? Like unbelievable. Our first CES, he would pass out drunk when we'd get back to our hotel room at like 2 a.m. He would,
And it was always off hours and stuff too. And we had
Yeah.
actually, I think we had forgotten about that video, which
Yeah.
is why we filmed it when he was in that state.
Yeah. He would wake up like an hour and a half later, edit for like 2 hours, like in like a, what's it called? Like a fugue state, and then sleep for another 2 hours. And we'd be up at 6 a.m. hitting the show floor. He did it the entire week. I'm pretty sure that old man Ed, who is the current Ed, I'm pretty sure he would die if he tried to replicate what he did at CES 2013.
I think a lot of us would, to be completely fair.
Yeah, me too.
Some of the stuff we used to do, I don't think I'd be physically capable of anymore. Like
Nope.
like the original Titan launch. Like
We made like 8 videos about one card in like days.
yeah, and the amount of I did not really sleep that whole week, and I just like I try every once in a while, something will happen where like I need to be on it for an extremely large amount of hours in a row, and they're strenuous now. And
Yeah.
back then it was just like whatever. I don't really care. I'm not
Whatever.
gonna feel it.
I'm
I'll
gonna
wake up the next
have
day and
some
be
instant
fine.
noodles.
Yeah,
like-
sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And now like I'll wake up in the morning and I'm genuinely sick, and like I'm paying for it. But,
Yep.
But yeah, this is actually, I'm excited, and this wouldn't normally excite me, but I think the reason why I'm excited is I feel like, especially Bethesda, which is my favorite one out of this. I haven't been way too into the Wolfenstein games as of late.
Yeah.
Dishonored was really cool.
Last couple Doom games have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very true. So Doom and the Bethesda games are the ones that I care about in that mix. But I'm really hoping that Bethesda gets some fire under them.
I'm worried.
yeah.
I'm worried that effectively what's going to happen is the same thing that Amazon is doing to retail. Is you're going to lose out on the spice of life that is the variety that comes from a healthy and diverse ecosystem. And I feel like, as much as acquiring companies claim that they always release a statement like this, we love everything about what they're doing. It's so great that we're not going to change anything. We just wanted to add them to our portfolio. It never works out. How'd that work out for Twitch?
Something that I would argue is that gaming has been like sick for a while now. And I think the Activision Blizzards of the world and the EAs of the world are showing that. And like the amount of output and the amount of focus that gets placed on the Activision Blizzards and the EAs and the horse armor crafters. Although that reference is probably so old now that you're probably one of the only people that gets it. But that is dominating the scene by a massive amount because there is unfortunately, it is consumer driven. There is so much money in making terrible games that you can spend a lot on.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a thing, and people will do it. And there doesn't seem to be anything that community voice can solve here, because whales will wail no matter what people say.
Yeah.
So junk games that you can spend a ton on, very, very empty, soulless games that you can spend a ton on, are doing really well. And it's cool to me that the Fall Guys and the Among Us games out there have started actually kind of popping off, because they're a little bit smaller studios, smaller teams, genuinely really fun focused games.
Yeah. PC gaming needs so much more of that.
It absolutely does. And something that I really, really, really hope turns out to be awesome, but we probably won't hear anything from it for quite a few years, is Dreamhaven. Have you heard about this?
No,
it's not in the doc. But Mike Morhaime, he's a original co-founder and former CEO of Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh, wow.
From way back at the beginning. Like I'm talking the Lost Vikings era. Like he's from back. He co-founded the original. I think they were called something before they were called Blizzard, but like he co-founded the way back then, and then was clearly very unhappy with the Activision stuff. And then he left. I think like 2 years ago, he quit. Yeah. And then he came out of retirement to found Dreamhaven. And then he And I'll send
I like
you
the
link
name.
here.
If he lives up to the name, then it sounds pretty good.
The name is actually the whole point as far as he's saying it. And
Yeah.
you said something very recently that was like, everyone says this. And like, to a lot of degrees, yes. But I think he's actually directly addressing in here a lot of the issues that I think the gaming industry has had for a long time, where they're taking these artists and these creatives and they're bleeding them for microtransactions and trying to get them to pump out garbage that they can sell. They're trying to shrink deadlines. They're trying to do all this other kind of stuff to make terrible things that you can spend a lot of money on. And they go into the details here. I wasn't ready for this, but the opening statement is, welcome to Dreamhaven. We love epic adventures, sharing stories, and creating lasting memories with family and friends. So we're building a new game company based on our shared values and relentless passion for making meaningful player experiences. And they go on later into basically talking about having the goal to not be massive financial gain, but the goal to be high quality games and sustaining yourself off of that instead.
Well, if Nintendo's anything to go on, you can have both.
It can work. It can absolutely work. You're right. Like, Nintendo is a great example for that. And that's one of the reasons why I've been a fanboy of Nintendo for a long time.
Of that, not of everything. Sometimes Nintendo makes mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. The Wii U, just in general.
I just meant more than being like jerks.
Sure.
Yeah.
They were extremely stupid around the
like
origination of game streaming and stuff like that. They've made massive mistakes, but in general, they seem to strive for quality, which is important. So they already have 2 studios under the wings of Dreamhaven called Moonshot Games and Secret Door. And I don't think there's much details about what those studios plan to do.
Hopefully what they plan to do isn't exactly what's already commercially successful on the market, or they're going to have another, what was that MMO that lasted for like months? WildStar? Something like that. I remember going to PAX and they had like this gigantic booth and the thing launched and it was just like, yeah, it's like WoW, but bad. I'm like, okay. And then how long did Amazon's new shooter last on like their public release? And they like take it back private or something stupid like that? I was following it a little while ago. Amazon's
Crucible. I didn't even know.
Yeah, Crucible. That's right, Crucible. So it went from like people were being paid to play it to nobody was playing it, and then went back into closed beta. Like, oops.
At least they did that, to be honest. At least they didn't just leave it burn like EA probably would. I don't even remember what game that was, but there was a game that came out from EA that was just actual garbage, and they just like tried to erase it from history, basically. I'm sure Twitch chat remembers, but
Classified
Anthem,
says
Anthem.
Classified says CD Projekt Red. Anyone? Well, okay, yes, but also no.
There are examples.
Yes, but also no. CD Projekt Red has the luxury, and this was a good business move, and I'm not saying I'm not going to give them credit for it, but they have the luxury of what I call Valve privilege, where they get to work on games for fun because they feel like working on games, because they also have good old games, which keeps them flush with cash. So if they don't release a game for 5 years, no one has to worry about like what they're going to eat. They can just eat a cut of other people's game sales. And I'm not saying that's like bad. It's good. I love good old games. Love the model.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, love all the guys over there. It's just...
good old games actually didn't bring in much for them. Yeah, but it brings in consistent.
Yes. It's something you can rely on.
Yeah. And like, yeah, there are examples of companies that aren't doing that. But as a whole, I think it would be fairly hard to argue that the state of the video gaming industry is like very healthy.
You don't want another NHL game? NHL Bubble Edition.
It feels like a lot of I would say the majority of the big players in the video gaming industry are kind of phoning it in and cashing out.
Yep, that's fair. I mean, that's
not a good or healthy thing for good quality within that industry.
So let's see if Microsoft, does better, because if there's one thing we've learned from the Netflix model, from the model of whatever it is as a service, it's that it can keep you flush with cash so that you can afford to make investments. And what it can do, so it provides that stability because you've got those recurring payments so that you can invest, but it also incentivizes investing in legitimately great experiences because you want people to keep paying their monthly fee. So, there's no question that Netflix has produced a ton of really great original content, and sometimes about things that other more traditional production companies might not even touch. Like they did something on like a Chinese protester or something, a documentary a little while ago that, if I was Disney, there's no way I would do that, or any of the bazillion things that Disney owns. And that's really cool because in a sense, that's almost like, it's almost like a more democratic way of creating content because it's ultimately funded by the people for the people. Now, Netflix is a public company and, beholden to shareholders and all that other kind of stuff. So there's definitely some complication there. I'm just saying it's a little bit more sustainable. So if Microsoft is building what is essentially like the Netflix of gaming through their Xbox experiences, acquiring all these game developers with the intention of like, okay, look guys, no, just make great games so that people never put down their Xbox and always just keep reinvesting in the Xbox ecosystem. Well, I can see why Microsoft said, and this was months ago, we don't even see Sony as a competitor anymore because Lord only knows how long they've had this in the works. They could still do things better. I mean, did you see people were accidentally buying Xbox One X's because Microsoft's naming scheme is so utterly stupid that people don't know what Series X is or One X or Series S or like, what are you doing? Stop. It's so easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sony can do it. And like, there, that's it. That's all I have to say about it.
Series is a really stupid name.
It's so stupid. And I'm sure there's some like deep meaning. Like we talked about this on a previous WAN show actually, where like maybe they're calling it Series because it's the final Xbox and they're just going to keep doing series and they're just going to run at different levels of graphical fidelity or whatever. The point is, it doesn't matter. You have to make things clear for the consumer. I blame Apple. It is Apple's fault that we just keep calling the product MacBook without clarifying which MacBook, which Xbox is it? I actually need to know these things because it affects things like controller intergenerational compatibility and like what games run on it and what TVs it hooks up to and interfaces it has. It's stupid. Just
the original Xbox name was pretty cool. I think Xbox 360 was like okay. And then since then, I think everything has been a mistake.
Yeah, 100%.
Calling it the Xbox One was
asinine.
Not good.
Because when I say Xbox, now I have to say original Xbox, which is a lot of syllables wasted. How much oxygen has Microsoft wasted from people having to say original Xbox? Like how many lives?
I'm sure this wasn't an intention, even though it might be a benefit to a certain degree. But like buying an Xbox controller on Craigslist is kind of hard.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it's annoying and it's hard because you have very inconsistent listing names because it's Craigslist. So it's like, I don't know. Oh, Nintendo is really rough on their handhelds. Yeah, someone listed new Nintendo 3DS XL, and then I think they had new Nintendo 3DS XL Plus or something. Like I make fun of that all the time. Yeah.
Like how hard is it? Cooper says the problem is they can't name it Xbox 4 because uneducated consumers would see PS5 and go, oh, that's one number bigger. Fine, but everyone knew the solution way back years ago. Xbox 720 then, if you absolutely must. Like if you must have stupid, irrelevant numbers. I think
that's what everyone thought it was going to be.
Everyone thought it was going to be Xbox 720. They came out with Xbox One and we were like, what? Connect what?
Yeah.
Hub of the media? What are you talking about? And then they ran out and bought PlayStations.
Yeah.
So just like making simple branding is actually really easy. And Microsoft knows how to do it. Gold membership. Oh, that's like good and shiny. I'll get that one. They know how to do it. They just also know how to confuse people for no reason. Making confusing branding is actually harder than making simple branding because all the rules already exist. Gold, silver, bronze. And then, oh shoot, we came up with something better. Oh, platinum, throw that in there. No problem. No problem.
Diamond.
You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, shoot, there's one that's like kind of in between. Call it the 5+. Whatever. It's easy. It's easy. Making things difficult for consumers to understand. The cynic in me thinks that, like, you know, back when, NVIDIA was going through a dark time in the Fermi days when they were just like rebranding cards, or when AMD rebranded the, the 7970 like 4 times or however many times they did it. Like, the cynic in me just goes like, okay, yeah, I guess you have to resell the same or a worse product, and you need people to think it's new so that the media will cover it again, and so people will run out and like buy the new one or whatever it is. And I get it. Some consumers are probably that stupid, but for everyone else, please just call it what it is.
Yeah. I'm not surprised at all that this happened, and it's just disappointing.
All right.
But yeah,
I'm exhausted now. Big NAVI might be faster than the 3080.
One quick thing I want to throw in before we leave is there's a statement from someone at ZeniMax saying, like, the real winners today are the gamers.
No, the real winners are
the real winners are the people that just sold their company for $7.5 billion.
Yeah, they're the real winners.
You're not fooling anyone. There's some cool things for the gamers, but the real winners are you.
Yeah.
Stuff it. Sorry, we can continue.
Big NAVI might be faster than 3080, according to some firmware listing something 80 compute units. I'll believe it when I see it. Sweet. Spotify, Tile, ProtonMail, and Basecamp join Epic against Apple. The coalition published a list of 10 App Store principles. No developer should be required to use an App Store exclusively. No developer should be blocked or discriminated against if they compete with the App Store owner. Every developer should have timely access to interoperability interfaces and technical information. Should have access to the App Store as long as they meet basic standards: security, privacy, quality, digital safety. Developers' data should not be used to compete with the developer. Freaking obviously. Like, these are all such like obvious antitrust violations that absolutely Apple has violated. Every developer should be able to communicate with users through its app. No App Store should be able to engage in self-preferencing. No developer should be required to pay unfair fees, nor be required to sell within its app anything it doesn't wish to sell. And all app stores should be transparent about their rules and policies. That's a big one. That's one of the places where Apple's arguments might really fall apart, where they're trying to say, like, it's all in the interest of the smoothness of the experience, except that it isn't smooth, and you are not applying the rules equally. And it's well documented that they're not. So there's that. Oh my goodness, we've got a new LTTstore.com merch item. Do you have it?
I can get it.
It was warm. I left it at the office. I left it on my chair. I don't have it. Okay, Luke's gonna go get it, but I'm gonna show you guys. Look at this guy with this beard and this comfy gray sweater. And whoa, does it have a hidden pocket? Is there a hidden pocket down there that can fit a Note 9? You can put your hands in it too. Look at that. We've got all kinds of different sizes and shapes of people to show you what it looks like. Look at this guy. Isn't he beautiful? Hey, it's Andy, Anthony, more David. Wait a minute. Is this the same pictures over and over again? Look at this guy. He's all like loser. No, he's pointing at the LTT logo. So we went with really subtle branding on this one. It's just meant to be like it's got like a fleecy inside. Not actual fleece, so it's 100% cotton French terry, and it's like really warm and like snuggly, kind of like a bit of a looser fit than some of the stuff that we've done before that's more form-fitted, but we think it's going to be extremely popular. The one problem is you might want to buy 2 instead of just 1, because there is a high probability, if mine and Luke's experience is anything to go by, that your lady will steal it from you the second you bring it home. Like the prototype one that I've had for actually like months at this point. We've been working on this one a long time. Yvonne has probably worn it like 8 times to my 1. So we decided on what I think is very reasonable pricing on this one. We're doing $39.99. Compared to the Stealth hoodie and the Swacket, there was I mean, it actually did end up being a ton of work because it's a totally different size chart, and because there's less stretch in the material, we had to do a lot of work to make sure that it'd be comfortable to put on and all that kind of stuff. But it was less custom sewing than something like Stealth Hoodie or Swacket. So we were like, okay, well, yeah, hey, why don't we do $40? Let's do a $40 sweater. It's actually about the right season to be putting it on sale accidentally. It was supposed to be last winter, but don't worry about it too much. Just head over to lttstore.com, get one for yourself. Yeah, super subtle branding. We don't want our merch to be like, hey, you have to broadcast to everyone in your social circle that you really like Linus Tech Tips. But if you want to do that, you can get a Stealth Hoodie, which has like, the logo down the arm or whatever. We definitely have stuff like that. This is just more for staying comfy and cozy when you're gaming. Hopefully you guys like it.
Yeah, so someone commented, why are the arms so long? So I showed, like, when my arm is out, it is not super long.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons. It sort of happened just by accident. Like, people actually like doing it, which is really cool. Like, modeling merch is not in anybody's job descriptions, but people just have stepped up and are just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I want to do it. And so
I really like that. Sorry to cut you off, but I really like that so many people do it, because you really get to see how it fits on like a really wide variety of actual humans instead of like, yeah, I don't know. It's cool.
Instead of models, because we don't have any models. This is all just people who work at.
Here's a bunch of people that you have probably seen a fair amount of times, and they're fairly consistent throughout the store. So you see them in a bunch of different stuff, and you can tell kind of how it fits. If you buy something and you see the pictures and it fits a certain person in a certain way, and you're like, wow, this fits me really nicely. Then you see that person wearing something different in the future and it fits them nicely. You can probably guess that it's going to fit you nicely again. Like, that's actually super cool. I don't know. That's a benefit in my eyes.
Ice Peter asks, who buys this trash? Lots and lots of people who are like actually pretty stoked on our trash for the most part. It's been a very, very successful part of the business for us, because we have another business that can allow us to invest in it and not rush anything. I actually killed a product yesterday that was supposed to launch on this WAN show. It was a long sleeve with short circuit branding that I wasn't happy with the sleeve length and the fit, because the final garments that we got did not match what I had approved. So basically they were going to have sleeves that were too long and kind of bunched up weird. And it was a difficult decision because we've already printed hundreds of them. So those are just going to get donated now. But that product is not launching and we're not taking your money for it. So that's why people buy this trash, because it's not trash, because we don't have to push out trash. We can just take our time and do it right. That's why. Viewer activity. Let's have a look at some trash comments from people who paid to send comments because they're crazy. Jurgen says, hey, when will WAN Show be available as VOD on Floatplane? Yeah, Luke, should we do that at some point? We should probably do that.
What are we doing? Sorry?
WAN Show VOD on Floatplane.
Yeah, we probably should.
I know you can.
Yep.
I know you can.
You know that.
Zooey Melb says, shout out to the LTT folding team. Now that it's cooling off in the north, I can fold again. Sweet. Also, video suggestion, 12VO car PC build that runs directly off the car's electricity. That's actually not a bad idea. Thomas says, what's Nick's Twitter handle so I can bother him about possibly making those collared elemental shirts for lttstore.com? At Nick LMG, I think. I actually don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm checking right now. Yes, it is.
Says, hey, just scored an IT job today using knowledge I learned from LMG videos. Thanks for sparking my interest. Hey, nice. That is sick. That's freaking awesome. Theorica says, in case you didn't mention it, any takers on the shifty stealth pins? Shifty stealth pins. Shifty. Oh, you mean the, mine doesn't make sense, but it's probably just me and everyone who asks me about it. I think you're talking about the people who got gaming rigs from their stealth pins shirts that they bought on the store. 2 of them have been claimed already. Yes. I actually don't know if the third one got claimed. They might not have seen it on the WAN show. So, hey, if your stealth pins shirt has something different other than LTT spelled out in it, go check and send a picture to the support team. I had another update. No, I can't give you guys that update yet. Robert Mail says Gigabyte 3070 leaked on Discord. 1815 boost clock. Oh, okay. Luke says I would like a GPU with no dents when I spend 3080 money. Yeah, a little bit. Baja Truck Guy says I work at a machine shop and I have some minimum wage employees. They don't understand they need to work above their pay to get ahead in the job. Yeah, back to that. I mean, I get it. I see both sides, because if they feel like it's dead end, they're not going to want to invest. And if you feel like they're a dead end loser, you're not going to want to invest in them. And then nobody invests in anybody and the business suffers. Everybody suffers because when a business doesn't succeed, everyone loses their job. I mean, except for this broken mega sort of corporation situation where everyone above a certain, you get a golden parachute, which I think is horrible. Like, I have no problem with, I don't agree with Elon Musk about everything, but I have no problem with his compensation being based on performance at the job. Like, that I can get behind. If you are going to pay yourself, millions of dollars a year or whatever, when things are going good, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But you better get paid $0 a year when things are going bad, because executives are ultimately supposed to be what guide the ship. So if the ship's going in the wrong direction, the buck has to stop somewhere. My channel. Luke, what color LTT bottle should I get? Linus won't get my jingle unless you answer.
My favorite one is the white and black, but the fairly standard black and gold is very, very cool. I think most people like this one, and I think it's with decently good reason, but I like the white one. My girlfriend loves the pink one. Surprise, surprise.
Josh says, I got the 3090 FTW3 Ultra, but I'm not either of the customers you mentioned. I wanted the extra VRAM, and the 3080 20 gig will probably be somewhere between the new cards in price. I won't need to upgrade for a while now. But you also don't sound mad. So you wanted the state of the art, which was one of the people that I outlined, by the way. Okay, yeah.
Sounds like someone you outlined, to be completely honest.
Al Baker says, I want to buy a new Mac Mini soon. Is there a point, do you think, to buying the maximum available storage capacity? I don't know. Would you buy a Mac now, knowing that the ARM stuff is coming? That's tough,
I
eh?
wouldn't buy a Mac at all.
Well, yeah, but okay, fine.
That's literally mostly just because I would have no idea what to do once it's sat in front of me.
I also can't see.
I just don't even want to learn.
I can't see any reason in the year 2020 to buy a system with maxed out storage. Like, the money that you have to spend on storage upgrades for some of those tier 1 PCs, you might as well just put together a cheap NAS with spinning disks, and then only keep the ones that or only keep the things you absolutely need on your machine. Like, who has more than 256 gigs of actual applications that they need on something like a Mac Mini? Like, it's not like you're loading it up with a bunch of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, what are you putting on there? Yeah. You should be working off of a NAS. So I would invest in the 10 gig interface and some 10 gig gear. I'd build out my network infrastructure over time. I wouldn't. Okay, Wei Ping Lin says, I want a dishwasher safe water bottle. Unfortunately, all of the vacuum-walled water bottles are not dishwasher safe. Just because your other one doesn't have a warning about it doesn't mean you should put it in the dishwasher. All right, that's it. Wait, what? Merch idea. Long johns and long sleeve shirt made from...
Yeah, hey, we got to get out of here. We got that Among Us game to get to.
Conductive material. Hold on a second. A bodysuit made of conductive material as taser-proof underwear. What are you talking about? Thanks for watching.
It would still ground into you, wouldn't it?
Show's over.
Goodbye. Yeah, you'd have to earth it, someone just said. Yeah, you'd still need a grounding.
You could just drive a big stake into the ground and then just
You just can't move.
Yeah, you're basically a dog on a leash for your whole life.
That'd be great.
Show's brought to you by Steel Series, Vessi Footwear, and